जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna and thank you for joining. Today we are discussing verse number 31 of chapter number 1 of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. And in the previous verses, in particular verses 28 to 30, it was discussed that Arjuna's mind is overwhelmed with compassion, and that resulted into the symptoms which were both physical and mental. And now he is going to give an argument about enjoyment, that is, there will be a lack of enjoyment for Arjuna if he is going to fight this battle with his own kinsmen. So let's read the verse. So Arjuna is saying in verse number 31 that Nacha shreyo nupashyami hatva swajanam ahave na kangshe vijayam krishna na cha rajyam sukhani cha. So Arjuna is saying that, Prabhupada translates as, I don't see how any good can come from killing my own kinsmen in this battlefield. Nor can I, my dear Krishna, desire any subsequent victory or a kingdom or happiness. So here Arjuna is trying to say, Nacha shreyo nupashyami. Pashya means see again. So he is saying that I am not able to see anything good that is going to come out of this war. Nacha shreyo nupashyami. Hatva swajanam ahave. Hatva swajanam ahave means by killing my own kinsmen. Swajana means my own men. So I don't see anything good that is coming out of this war by killing my own people. And then he's saying, Nakangshe vijayam Krishna. Oh Krishna, Krishna is a very dear name or a very close name. And Krishna likes it actually. So here he is saying, Na kangshe vijayam Krishna. I do not desire vijaya. I do not desire victory. And then he says, Na cha rajyam. Means I don't want any kingdom also. And then finally he says, Sukhani cha. That I don't want even happiness. So Arjuna is totally, in a depressed state of mind. So he is saying that I don't want either winning this war, or I don't want the kingdom, or I don't even want the happiness. So in this particular verse, there is a very nice word used by Arjuna, which is shreyo. Means shreya is a very important word to understand. So we are going to see the details of that. So there are two words. One word is shreya, other word is preyas. So shreyas or preyas. So shreyas means long-term good, something which is long-term good, something that feels quite difficult. So shreyas, that activity which feels quite difficult in the beginning, but at the end the results are nectarian, right? So it's like a poison in the beginning and it is nectar at the end. So that kind of activity or that kind of thing is called as shreyas, that is good, right? And on contrary to shreyas is preyas. So preyas gives us immediate pleasure. So it feels very good in the beginning. It means right now I am feeling good. In a short term it feels good, but in long term it is not good for the person, and it brings misery, it brings destruction. So it's like a nectar in the beginning and it is poison in the end. So that's the difference between shreyas and preyas. So let's see some example. So shreyas is actually good for a person and preyas is actually good. So shreyas means it is actually good for the person, and preyas is feels good for a person. It feels good for a person right now. So that is the biggest difference between real good and feeling good. There is something which is really good for us, and then something which gives the feeling of good for a short period of time. So that is prayers. And the example can be given as in India we have a lot of sweets. So somebody likes eating sweet, and then they eat one sweet and it is quite relishing and feels good in the mouth and good to the tummy also. But the person again keeps on eating the sweet one after other. So what will happen if the person continues to do that for some time? Then after some time that person will get a kind of disease which is diabetes and is going to suffer the entire life. So it felt good in the beginning, and it was nectar in the beginning, but it is poison at the end. So that is prayers. Similarly for a student, if the student likes to watch a movie or he doesn't learn to study, he has to hang around with friends and play all kind of video games and etc., or also engage in the social media things. So ultimately he's wasting his time and not studying. So those kind of things is feels good. It gives a feeling of the mind gets happy at that time when we are doing those activities. So it's an instant sense gratification. But ultimately it brings a bad result. The student will not get good marks in the exams, and then probably the student might also fail. So that is prayers. Whereas right now we are engaging in studying the Shastras. So it feels sometimes that why I have to study Shastra, why I have to invest my time into doing this. But when we study Shastra, we gain knowledge, and ultimately our life changes. So this is not just an information, this is going to help to transform our life. So this brings transformation in our life. So this is Shreyas. This is for a long time good. So now after understanding the difference between Shreyas and prayers, we see that Arjuna doesn't see any Shreyas, any good, a long-term good, fighting this particular war. Arjuna is thinking that all my relatives, my grandfather, my teachers and my friends and all will be killed. My swajanas will be killed. What will I gain? Even if I gain the kingdom, it will be like an empty trophy. You win some kind of trophy, but there is nobody else to enjoy with what you have gained. Then what kind of happiness that I'm going to, or what kind of enjoyment I'm going to get by even winning this kingdom? So this is what is all going on in Arjuna's mind. So let's see what Srila Prabhupada has to say in the purport. So in the purport, first thing that Prabhupada explains is the situations of a conditioned soul. So when the soul is placed in this material world, that kind of situation of the soul is called as a conditioned soul. And this term has been used in the purports again and again. Srila Prabhupada uses this term of conditioned soul again and again. So let's understand the meaning of the word conditioned soul. Okay. So in Bhagavad Gita chapter 15.7, here I have mentioned 15.7, Krishna says, Mame vansha jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatanaha manasastrani indriyani prakrite sthane karshati. So Krishna is talking about the soul and his relationship with the soul. He is saying that the living entities in this conditioned world. So this world is called as a conditioned world by Krishna. So when this living entity comes in this conditioned world, they are my actually eternal fragmental parts. They are part of me. Krishna is saying that they are part of me. And then what he is saying, that due to conditioned life, when they come to this world, they are conditioned. So what is that condition? Due to the conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with 6 senses, which includes the mind. So Krishna has included mind along with the 5 senses. That's why it's saying 6 senses. So when the living entity comes in this world, it gets 5 senses. Like our body has 5 senses: eyes, nose, right? Then ears, tongue, and skin. So these are the 5 senses, and this mind is also given to the living entity. So when we combine all this, becomes 6, And Krishna is saying, due to the conditioned life, they are struggling very hard. They are struggling very hard in this world. So what is the struggle, or what is that conditioning that is given to the soul in this world? So let's try to understand that. So the living entity in Bhagavad Gita, the living entity is called as soul or Jivatma. So the individual soul, Jivatma, often described as conditioned. And what does that mean? So it means that there are some conditions that are applicable to that particular soul when it comes to the into the material world. Like when we buy any product, then they'll put a asterisk and say, oh, these are the conditions that is applied. So condition applies. So similarly, when the soul comes in this material world, there are conditions that applied. So the first condition, these are like 5 categories of condition. The first category is, it is under the jurisdiction of the laws of material nature. So when the soul comes in this world, it has to follow the law of the material nature, or the law of the nature, or the law of Maya. Maya is actually working under Krishna. So actually this living entity has to follow the law of Krishna in a way. So what are those laws? That means it has to follow, like for example, it has to sleep in the night. If the soul, if the body doesn't get rest, the next day is all gone. So we know that. Then it has to suffer through the scorching heat or bitter cold, and then it has to go under like 7 kinds of suffering. So what are the 7 kinds of suffering? It has to go through Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi. First 4 are Janma, birth, death, old age, and disease. And then there is a 3 more that is called as Tapatraya. Misery is caused by my own body and mind, misery is caused by the other living entities, and misery is caused by the Devatas. So this is one set of conditions the living entity has to go through. Then the next one is, it has conditions to desire. So the individual living soul can desire, but due to restriction by material nature, not every desire can be met. So when the soul has desire, it wants to fulfill all the desire, but it will not be fulfilled, because the Maya can only fulfill the desire based on what we deserve. So if we don't deserve, then those kind of desires are not fulfilled. So the soul is actually dependent on the material condition for fulfilling his desire. A simple example can be given, like if I want to see, if there is no light, I can't see. So that's a condition. So, or if my ears are closed, then I can't hear. Or if the eardrum is not working, then also I can't hear. So these are the conditions which is put on the living entity. Or if our part of the body gets paralyzed, then the body doesn't work. So this is again a kind of condition. But we have desires to walk, or desires to move my hand. But even though we may have desires, but because of the restrictions of the material nature, we will not be able to fulfill those desires. So the desires are not met. Third one is, it has chosen to be under Maya. So this is a choice which we have, but we choose to be under Maya. So Maya means illusion. And the soul has accepted something, illusion, as reality. So unless the soul comes and understands the spiritual subject matters, like what we are trying to do by attending this kind of classes and trying to understand Bhagavad Gita, is basically we are trying to get the spiritual knowledge. But if the soul decides that I don't want to get the spiritual knowledge, then whatever is this illusion which is there in front of us, we think that as reality. And then what Maya does, so Maya makes us forget who we really are, and identifying with the ever-changing body. So we start identifying ourselves as body. That is material conception of life. We discussed this point in the previous sessions. So we keep identifying ourselves with the body, ever-changing body. And what other thing we do? We accept sense gratification to be the ultimate goal of life. So that's the reason we want to enjoy through our senses. That's why we choose to be under the Maya. And then because it's our desire to be choosing to be under Maya, then what Maya does, it is conditioned by nature to be in illusion. So Maya puts an illusion on us. So this is the fourth thing that happens. So material nature works to keep the conditioned soul in illusion. So it'll put us in illusion, it'll continuously put us in illusion because of their underlying desire. Whose desire? The soul's desire. The soul wants to be in Maya. So that's why the Maya is acting on us, and it is giving us various options to forget the reality and be in illusion. The example is in movie theater, like, when we go to see a movie, specifically like horror movies or any other kind of movies, we want to experience those things like getting horrified and all this. So what the directors do, they make a nice movie, and then they present the movie in the theater, and we go to theater and we forget the outside world, and then we see the movie and we start identifying ourselves in the movie. So the better the director, they make the movie in such a way that we feel that the things which is happening in the movie is actually happening in my life. But it is an illusion actually. We are separate from that movie, whatever is we are experiencing in the movie theater. So in the movie theater, the audience wants to forget that what they are and are watching is a scripted performance. So the meticulously it is edited by the edited to look like a real life. So this experience is given to us. So who in this world, who gives us this experience? This is given us by the material nature or Maya. And when the living entity comes in this material world, or when it is conditioned, it means the living entity has 4 defects. So conditioned soul means they have these 4 defects. What are the 4 defects? To commit mistakes. We always commit mistakes. Second is to become illusioned, which is we have seen over here that we are illusioned by the Maya. And then third is to cheat, though we are illusioned and still we cheat. And the fourth is imperfect next of the senses. So our senses are all imperfect. We cannot see properly what is being shown to us. So our senses are imperfect. Similarly, we can hear only a certain range of sound. So this way, these are the 4 kind of defects the conditioned soul has. But it is always, the soul always has an opportunity to get liberated. Though they are in this conditioned state, but they have an opportunity to get liberated. The conditioned soul is bound by so many ways and continues from one species to another. So if we want to be conditioned, if we want to continue, then that option is there. So we go from one body to another body to third body and keep on going like that eternally. However, there is always an option available to change things. So that is a free will the soul has. And the soul can, by using the free will, the soul can change its current position. So by the process of yoga, the soul can regain its original spiritual position. So by studying the Shastra, what we are doing, we study the Shastra, then after studying the Shastra, then we apply those instructions given in the scripture in our life. And that is the process of yoga. So when we engage in the process of yoga, then we can get back our original spiritual position. And that position is called as a liberated position. So at that time we are not conditioned, we become liberated. So I thought it will be important to discuss this particular meaning of the word conditioned soul, what it means. So having understood this point, the conditioned soul, let's read the purport which is given by Srila Prabhupada. So situations of the conditioned soul. So now Prabhupada says that without knowing one's self-interest, so as we understood in this, the conditioned soul doesn't know his self-interest. He thinks that I am this body, and enjoying the sense through the senses is the goal of my life. So the conditioned soul, without knowing one's self-interest, without knowing its self-interest, is in Vishnu or Krishna. The conditioned soul are attracted by bodily relationship, hoping to be happy in such situation. So the soul thinks that I am the body, everything connected to me is mine. And all these relationships are going to give me happiness. All these situations around me are going to give me happiness. So Prabhupada is saying, in such a blind conception of life, they forget even the cause of material happiness. So they forget everything. And then they even forget that how to attain happiness in this world. Right? So this is the first point. And the next point Srila Prabhupada makes, that Arjuna forgets the moral codes for Kshatriya. Arjuna was born as a Kshatriya. He was trained in the Gurukul system to get all the knowledge to become a Kshatriya. Kshatriya means Shatatrayate iti Kshatriya. They are the protectors. They are the protectors of Dharma. So Arjuna appears to have even forgotten the moral codes for Kshatriya. He forgot everything. When he saw his relative, his attachment for the relatives made him forget everything. So he appears that he even forgot the moral codes of Kshatriya. It is said that there are two kinds of men, namely the Kshatriya who dies directly in front of the battlefield under Krishna's personal orders, and the person in the renowned order of life who is absolutely devoted to spiritual cultures are eligible to enter into the sun globe, which is so powerful and dazzling. So this is another thing which we are learning, that in sun planet also there is life. Right? There is a life, but the body of that life is in a different form. And this, like in the earth, we have a different kind of body, which is made up of, Krishna explained in Bhagavad Gita chapter 7, 4th verse. He is explaining how this body is made. He is saying that Bhumi Rapo Analo Vayu Kham Mano Buddhi Revacha. So earth, water, fire, air and ether, these are the 5 composition, how the body is made, which is suitable for us to stay in this earthly planet. Like in this earthly planet also we see that, there are living entities which lives in the water, like the fish can live in water. We can also live in water for some time, maybe for a few hours, maybe 1 or 2 days, but not more than that. We have to come out. Our body is not suitable to stay in the water for a very long period of time. It is designed to stay on the earth, right? Basically on the land. So there will be if somebody who is living in the sun planet will have a body which is suitable to live in the sun planet, right? And these are the discussions which will be actually explained by Krishna in the 2nd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, that the soul cannot be burned by fire. The soul is spiritual, so it cannot be burned by fire. It cannot be cut into pieces. It cannot be withered by wind. So all these things Krishna explains in the 2nd chapter. So soul will not get destroyed even in sun planet. And if a body is given suitable to live in the sun planet, then the soul can also live in that kind of body in the sun planet. So that's why it is a higher planet. It's higher compared to us, earthly planetary system, and it is kind of heavenly planet, right? It's kind of heavenly planet, and or a planet in the heavenly realm, we can say that. So there are 2 ways to go there in the heavenly planets. One is by a warrior who dies in the battlefield and who is trying to protect dharma. When the warriors, when they are trying to protect dharma and they get killed in the battlefield, then they can go to the sun planet. Similarly, yogi can also, or sannyasi can also go to a sun planet if he desires so, by performing his tapasya. And Arjuna forgets about this. So next Prabhupada is saying that Arjuna's argument is, Arjuna is reluctant to even kill his enemies. Those are in front of him. Actually they are enemies. And though they are relatives, but they acted like enemies because they caused so much disturbance in the life of Pandavas. They even try to kill. And the word which is used is atatai, means aggressors. So they did 6 kind of aggressions. And that in whatever opportunity was available to them, they were using those opportunity to destroy the Pandavas. So Arjuna is reluctant to even kill his enemies, let alone his relatives. He thinks that by killing his kinsmen, there would be no happiness in this life, and therefore he is not willing to fight. So he explains that he doesn't want to fight because they'll be killed and with whom he's going to enjoy. And he's giving an analogy, Prabhupada is giving an analogy that just as a person who does not feel hunger is not inclined to cook for others. Right? So similarly, Arjuna would not kill his relatives because he doesn't like to kill. He will not going to enjoy. But he needs to perform his dharma. That's the whole point, that Arjuna needs to perform dharma, to protect the dharma. That's the reason he is fighting. So he forgot about all this because of his excessive attachment. So what is Arjuna's decision? That is given in the last point. Prabhupada says that he has now decided to go into forest. Right? How does Prabhupada know? Because Arjuna says it later. So Prabhupada is revealing us in this purport. He has now decided to go to the forest and live a secluded life in frustration. But as a Kshatriya, he is required to rule actually. So he is required to have a kingdom for his subsistence. Because the Kshatriyas cannot engage themselves in any other kinds of occupation. So he needs a kingdom to rule, because he is a Kshatriya. He is born as Kshatriya and he's practiced himself the entire life as Kshatriya. So he must rule. And he cannot take any other occupation because this is not advised. The Brahmana must perform Brahmana duties, a Kshatriya must perform Kshatriya duties. This is how the Varnashram system was. But Arjuna has no kingdom because all has been usurped by his relatives. So he has to fight to get his kingdom back. So Arjuna's sole opportunity for gaining a kingdom lies in fighting with his cousins and brothers and reclaiming the kingdom inherited from his father, which he does not like to do. Right? So then what Arjuna likes to do? Therefore he considered himself fit to go to the forest and live a secluded life of frustration. So this is what Arjuna is thinking that he should do. He should not file, he should not kill his relatives. Anything is better to go to the forest and better to renounce everything and then live a life of frustration in a secluded place like a forest. So this is what is Arjuna discussing here, and he is going to continue to describe the argument about the enjoyment in the future verses. So we'll stop here, and I have put in a slide all this discussion which is happening here in the form of a slide, and we'll continue to discuss these points in the next few verses. Thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Gaur Premanande Hari Bol.